Mama. My name is Sharon. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to episode 27, where we're going to be talking about how to create, stay with me, a family vision. So if you're anything like me, the first time you heard the idea of a family vision, you may have rolled your eyes, and I do not blame you for this. I completely understand. A family vision is really just having kind of a conversation with your partner or whoever you share a home with and thinking about where do we want to be in the future. I always like to think about 10 years because 10 years just seems so far from now and really makes me, I feel like I zoom out when I think 10 years, like big time. Where do we want to be? So my husband and I first had this conversation when our children were babies. I think maybe we only had one at the time. And we really were kind of struck by this exercise because it was hard. It's really hard to think about where do we want to be in 10 years. And it's not a one-time conversation either. It's sort of this evolving process where you're thinking through where we want to be. But we challenged ourselves to think about, okay, 10 years from now, our kids are going to be, so right now our kids will be 17 and 15, which is crazy to even think about. But what do we want? What kinds of experiences do we want them to have had? What kinds of skills do we want them to have? What kind of people do we want them to be? And really thinking in that big picture capacity. I remember when my oldest daughter was a baby, we had this conversation and we decided that we wanted to travel the United States with our daughter. This is pre-COVID. We were like, this is what we want to take her to every state before she's grown. And that was kind of the priority that we moved towards. So we changed our budget to reflect that. We were like, well, if we're gonna do that, we need to start saving. It brought up conversations about vehicles we wanted to own in order to make that happen. And we literally reworked our entire budget. And then as our daughter got older and we added another one to the mix, we started to just reevaluate and be like, is this really what we want? If you've traveled with kids, you understand. And so we actually altered our family vision because that wasn't exactly the experience we decided we wanted our kids to have. We actually morphed more into wanting to own property near a lake or near an ocean, and that became our priority, and that's the goal that we're working towards now. So this is a great conversation, again, multiple conversations to have with a partner to think through this piece. And I found that once you've had this conversation, you can kind of make like a visual representation to work towards that vision. And it also helps to connect your sort of annual goals. So as you're setting goals for yourself for the year, you can be thinking about, okay, what are we doing to move towards that family vision, that vision we want for our future kids? What skills should we be fostering? What activities should we be looking into? All of those kinds of things. So again, we'll talk about this in a future episode. Actually, our next episode is going to be all about our annual money meeting that my husband and I have every year. But this conversation is a great precursor because you start to identify priorities. And then when you jump into your family, your budgeting meeting or your money meeting, whatever you want to call it, you can really kind of highlight those priorities and make sure they're reflected in the budget, if that makes sense. So on the podcast this week, I'm going to be sharing with you kind of our family vision, the vision we have for our kiddos. So if you do well listening to or hearing examples, definitely be sure to check that out. And I'm also going to be sharing with you how we changed our family vision and how it's reflected in our budget now. So if you're curious, hop on over to the podcast. Episode 28, which is coming up next, is going to be all about our annual money meeting. This idea was inspired by Kelsey Wharton from the Rising Shining podcast and her blog, and she inspired my husband and I to sit down yearly to reflect on our budget, to reflect on our financial goals. We've been doing it for probably 7 years now. It's been a while. So I credit her with that, and I'm going to walk you through our modified process that we do every year just to inspire you. And as always, if you would like to sign up for my mailing list, you can do that in the link below. You will receive personal growth delivered right to your inbox once a week. It is bite-sized action steps that you can implement in 2 minutes or less. So I definitely had the busy mom in mind while I was planning that. And And you can follow along in between episodes on Instagram at Sharon Legier Coaching. And you can also check out my website if you're interested in a little more about me and my services, and that is SharonLegierCoaching.com. Thanks so much, Mama. I hope you have a great day.